Thank you so much, Senator Smith, and I will not be repetitive. I first want to acknowledge Senator Smith mentioned the memo that we received as members of the Florida House. And this memo included the attempt to create a committee to visit this topic of redrawing mid-decade congressional maps of Florida. And it did include a gag order essentially saying that members of the legislature who have spoken out in the past or the present or the future about concerns regarding partisanship of the map drawing process would be disqualified from serving on this committee. I'm here to disqualify myself.
Say it.
Because it is essential that we speak out on the rhetoric coming from President Trump, the rhetoric coming from other political leaders across this country who are 100% scared of their own voters, that instead of allowing a democratic process to persist, they're going to rig the system in their favor. Now, my parents immigrated from Iran to this country. This is not Iran. This is the United States of America. We take pride in our democracy. We take pride in the fact that we have competitive elections and that those who get the plurality are the ones who will serve in that capacity. And the thought that millions of people come to this country fleeing that type of persecution, fleeing political systems where your politicians are chosen for you, are handpicked for you, makes me sick to my stomach. That we're now replicating what those very countries that we say we oppose are now doing. And I want to acknowledge that this is one battle of many. Obviously, a lot of the attention is of course falling on what's happening out in Texas, what could happen in Florida, what California is doing in response. But let's be clear, this morning, President Trump said he wants to end vote by mail. He wants to totally eliminate the ability for voters to cast a ballot by mail. He tweeted that out this morning. And then in addition, we know that Florida Republicans and Republicans across this country are trying to rewrite the U.S. Constitution. They are pushing for a Articles of Convention, which is under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, and pushing for 2/3 of states to commit to it, which would allow for these red states to lead an effort to rewrite the U.S. Constitution, the foundation that built this nation. We have never had a convention since the founding of this country, and there's a reason why conservative justices and liberal justices have both said it's a bad idea. And so we are here to push back. We're here to, of course, empower more Democrats to speak out, to understand this issue. I will tell you that the current maps are being litigated. I was deposed for 5 hours by state of Florida lawyers in the federal lawsuit on the current maps. And so the litigation on current maps is still in process, and here we have a legislature that's going to try to rewrite maps again. Now, it was mentioned that the numbers for us, of course, are not in our favor, but the people are. At the end of the day, regardless of political affiliation, there is consensus that you should have fair maps. And that passed Florida voters by 60% in 2010. And I remember being a college student at UCF, not just supporting that ballot initiative, but the following year testifying as a 20-year-old at Bob Carr against politicians who were back then drawing maps to benefit themselves. So this is a fight that many of us know, and it's a fight that many of us are willing to have, because we know how essential having fair, objective, and balanced maps are to the health, security, and future of this country, to ensure that working class Americans, that young people, that people of diverse backgrounds can have the opportunity to elect folks who represent them and their values, not be stuck with politicians who are handpicked by an elite few to serve the interests of large corporations and power-hungry politicians. And so I thank you for being here, but do know that we're going to pursue every tactic and strategy we have in Florida to fight back, but we cannot do it alone.